Somebody shows up that's handicapped.
Thank you.
I'll call the budget committee meeting to order for Tuesday, May 27th, 2024. All board members, and Jody's going to be late, but all other board members are here.
Okay, call to order, roll call, we've established quorum, budget revisions and discussions. Steph?
Okay. Yeah, PowerPoint can get rolling.
I want to figure out this. Where'd you put it? Oh, it's still there? No.
Possible.
Double mirror. You,
Problem is, I think I have to share screen because otherwise Irene can't see it. Correct?
There we go.
Yeah, but Irene, I don't think can see it.
You should be able to. Is this what
No.
format? Is this Zoom or what?
No, I have to share screen, so I gotta down.
Yeah.
Well, I have to save it to the desk, so share screen.
no, you just open a window.
There should be a thing on your.
It's okay. Yeah. Hang tight, Irene.
Here's
It's up on the screen.
When did you do it? There we go. Okay.
You'll go down.
Irene, can you give us a thumbs up if you can hear that or see that? Sorry. Thank you. Yay.
The overview on the other day.
All this time when you're sitting here.
Eat it.
That's the other one. Either. It's fun, isn't IT awesome?
You need an 8-year-old on staff to handle all these things.
You were so right.
Definitely not me.
Did I, wait a minute, I might have just picked the wrong line. Hold on. Is it this one? Wait, I'm gonna just click on the wrong one. Is this one?
That's May 27th.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Hold on.
Just open it on you. Well, I went back to the old one.
There. Oh, gosh. Okay. Moving right along.
Are we ready for our staff report? See.
There.
Yeah. Okay.
What's wrong?
No idea.
It went flat.
Let's-
All right,
Let's roll.
let's go.
So I want to thank, is it Lewis for getting us a whole list of questions. I think everybody got that. I really
No.
appreciate that.
I sent them out
When?
to the
Yeah,
budget
It was
committee
on the, yeah, you did.
On email.
in the email. With the
Yeah,
chat.
yes,
Yep.
what day?
Oh, this was back,
week. David Mason.
yeah, it was
Did you
last,
get them?
yeah.
Yeah.
10
Yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
I want-
from you, Melissa?
yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, I know, I put that together because I know Rob asked if we had
Mhm.
questions, and I'll get in it early.
Appreciate
And I asked the general revenues, I missed the revenue line item, and under the street revenue, I missed the line item. Coming from my initial review, so.
Yeah. So what we did is crafted a response mostly to that. We actually did some of the minor changes like renaming of a couple of line items we just went ahead and did. And so I don't know that there's too much to talk about there. It's stuff like changing gas tax revenues to Oregon State gas tax revenues. Something along those lines. So let's go ahead and roll. So what we need to do today, we're gonna describe the changes that we made to the budget since last time we met. We're gonna do Q&A that's based off of this document provided by Lewis. And then we need to approve the budget tonight. Changes. So last meeting, you asked me to reinvigorate the unpaid time off or unpaid comp fund. We kind of put it on pause under last budget, and so we didn't make any additions to it. We've drawn it down quite a ways this year, and so I did the math, and we needed to put actually it's on the next slide. 69,593 into it. And then what I did is use the budgeted allocation of wages to figure out how much needs to come out of each fund. And so that's circle is 69,593, and that's where it all comes from. Let's see that street, community development, motor pool, general fire, water and sewer, all contribute to that. Go ahead and roll. And what that amount is based on is getting it to where we have current liability, which is around 70,000. If everybody left now, it'd be about 70,000. And then we have expectation of what would be accrued through the end of next year. It comes up to 101, and we have 30,000 in there right now. So that's the difference. Is that 70,000?
I just have one
Sure.
question, and this may be a dumb one, but we've got an unpaid comp page
Mhm.
with revenues.
Yeah.
And then you've got it broken down into each department
Mhm.
also.
Yes.
Those,
So every fund has to contribute to it. It's an internal service fund.
right?
So the only revenues, it's a parasite of the other funds, right? So it's such
Okay,
resources from the other funds.
But we're not we're not doubling the
No, so what happens is it shows revenue in the unpaid comp fund, which I think you called out on page 44.
right.
It shows transfers in from those other funds. Those are gonna be expenses in the personnel services line item in each of the other funds.
Okay.
So there's a corresponding amount to balance that.
So are you saying you're recommending that we keep the unpaid comp fund?
Actually, that was
That was decided last.
direction at the last
What was it?
What do you
Was
mean?
it to keep it or?
To keep it, yeah, and refill it, yeah, back up. So we had not made any contributions during this current budget year, we didn't budget to make any. And so we're down to 36,000 or so, that's what our estimated carryover is. And the question presented to the committee was, should we fund it back to full, or should we just let it right off with sunset? And it was pretty much unanimous, is let's keep it. So that's what we did. Okay, moving on. Other changes, there's a formula the district uses for cost share. So we ran through that calculation with the district, and their cost share is increased by $17,000. So that improved the fire fund situation, which is part of the general fund. And so that was a change that was not known at the time of the prior meeting. So our situation improved there, and that can actually be seen. We'll just guide you to your budget.
And we're using these now, these not so pretty books.
Yeah. The workbooks. And so that is on page 24. And you see the rural fire district cost share is 46,435. And that's based on the calculated formula that's been historically used.
So
Thank you. So that's for the total.
I'm understanding that. That's, you're saying the 46,435 is the rural fire district revenues?
Rural Fire District shares the cost of the fire fund. And there's a formula that's been used for years that they've just rolled forward. We plug in our budgeted numbers into their formula and they tell us how much, based on that historic formula, they're gonna share in our costs. And so that 46 represents 17,276 increase over the number I gave you in the last budget, at the last meeting.
Okay, so we don't have double. Okay.
So last year we budgeted 29. And now we're jumping to 46.
Right, but in our first meeting, I gave you a number that was $17,000 less than that 46.
So this is a revenue for the city's general.
Yes.
This is
fund.
a-
It comes from the fire district
Yes.
budget, which is a separate entity
Yeah.
from the city. So it's revenue from that fire district fund
Yeah.
to the city's general fund. So it's a
They're
net,
giving us.
they're giving us the
Yep.
money. Yeah.
to
So
offset costs.
you recalculated the formula and so we get an additional 17,000. From the city perspective, it's a good news.
Mhm. So originally you budgeted around 29,000 and now.
Yeah, I carried over last year's budget item because I wasn't sure at that point what we were gonna do.
This is
with that.
just no revenue we now know.
Yep.
So we updated it.
That makes sense to everybody?
So we're getting money.
We also-
So where's that money?
It just goes to our general fund.
It supports the
It
fire.
supports the fire. So this fire fund right here, the fire department expenditures and stuff, it supports that fund, which is a subsection of the general.
Then we also recalled that we needed to add revenue or a cost for the water fund master plan. So if you turn with me to the water fund, which is on page 47. On the professional services line item, the previous budget that I gave you had 40,000 for professional services. And we moved that up to 100,000 to cover the cost of the water master plan.
Which we need because it'll be outdated and we'll be in violation probably by next year. Or we already are.
Just out of curiosity, so that water master plan that basically you hire a contractor, they come in and they review and update your plan for you, and then
Yeah.
it's approved by council.
So it's an engineer, right?
Yeah, you do, yeah. Since we have an engineer of record, we could work with him.
But you just have to have a current one updated every, 5
10
years?
years.
10 years, and so it's gonna be up this coming year.
Yes, I believe so.
What does that plan comprise?
I am not a public works person. I just know we have plans that are required to be updated. I've seen it. It basically, it's like it's the blueprint or map of your water distribution or water plan. So it's your plan for the water. So how it gets distributed, what it does, where you have your wells, what the wells do, how much is the capacity, what the growth capacity is. All of that kind of thing. And I'm probably not explaining it nearly in depth. as it should be.
Well, 100,000 would suggest to me that
No,
that
no,
would be.
No, not 100,000. 60 is, that's high, but we budget high. It's for professional services, everything goes in there, so it's just the water master plan we're expecting to be, I'm expecting 50-ish. They're not cheap.
Usually I see 40 to 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing a energy resilience plan for the county. We hired the contractors for 43,000.
Yeah,
They're not cheap.
they're not cheap. But they're also.
Putting 100,000, only gonna cost us
Well, because
at the
there's,
most 60.
There
that's
was
the
already
professional service
40,000.
line item, so other things are coming out of it. Other
Anytime,
professional services.
It was 40,000.
Yeah.
They added 60,000, so now it's up to 100,000.
so the other professional services examples would be,
IT services, engineering, consulting, accounting services, city planning services.
So that's in that 100,000.
Oh, grant writing, forgot to put that in there. Grant management would come under there too.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of stuff that comes out of it.
Will we ever see a breakdown?
Yep. What's that?
He wants to see it.
We don't have breakdowns. I mean, it doesn't come into that kind of detail. I can show you historically what those numbers are, but I can't pull that for you right this second.
I'm asking, I just would like to see the story.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. All right, and so to balance the budget, we obviously have to have two sides to every transaction, right? So the offsets are to contingency or where applicable unappropriated ending fund balance. So it didn't affect anything else. We just reduced our contingency in general fund, and in water, we reduced our unappropriated ending fund balance.
How much? Well, the water has to tell them.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
And so the change in those is the sum of the portion of unpaid comp that we had to reduce it by, and we also took the 60. So it's about, I think it's about 80,000 is what we had to drop the unappropriated income tax.
But still healthy by
Yeah.
nature. I mean, I'm not,
Yeah, if you,
I'm not worried.
yeah, if you're taking from unappropriated ending fund balance, you're taking from money that you didn't plan on spending. anyway.
right.
Yeah, and so our unappropriated ending fund balance on water on page 48 it was right around 700. It's at 627. It seems like it.
Like we
It
said, we
seems
want to get up to 2 million. Pushing.
Goal 2
I mean,
million.
it's not, it's a good problem to have.
Okay, let's. What?
Question.
That was true.
Question.
Maybe I'm very simple, but do we ever look at like just an overall? These are the monies that transfer into the general fund. These are the monies that come out of the general fund. Do we ever, have like a slide that breaks them out? Because in a lot of ways, it's very hard to follow what's coming out, what's going in to certain funds. You have to, flip to this page, then flip back to this page. Is there a way that we can say, this is what our general fund is, this is what's coming in through all of our different funds, this is what's going out to, fire, blah, blah, blah.
Kind of like a visual flow chart, so you can see the picture. of it.
Yeah.
It is hard to follow. But
I'm not trying to make more work.
Well, I mean, it would have been.
I'm paid by the hour.
So here's the problem.
The finance workshop.
Yeah. So we did the finance workshop. We did the last meeting, and then we asked them if there were any questions or anything else we could present.
I
So we
understand.
could do that, because we do have to approve it tonight. And so, I mean, I want to respond to all those things, but we're here and I don't have time to do it now.
Sometimes things just go into my brain and I think of something.
I
It's
totally know
scary.
what you're saying.
I think it's great. And like I said, I mean, we took what we had, which was the one person who asked questions, and we responded to it. So,
I think,
Rob?
go ahead.
One of our last meetings, you said PERS would not go much. I know
first went down,
It went
and
double,
I've got a slide deck about that.
it doubled on
Yeah,
water.
well, so it doubles because we also increased our expectation for salaries. Our expectation for salaries is dramatically higher because we've got another 5.5 FTEs budgeted in here.
Okay, but I'll get to that later. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yep. Next slide.
I'm trying.
Okay, so the next section, so that was the changes. That was it. Those are the only changes that we had since the last meeting. And then I'm answering the questions, and there were lots of questions that I kind of grouped together, and so maybe I don't answer it exactly. We can pause and try to answer it a little more specifically, but I just tried to generalize what a lot of the questions were around, and also anticipate follow-up questions that might come from some of these. So the URA loan, there was a question about the URA. When's the last day we can take it? Well, as of right now, the last day we can take that remaining 1 million is December 2025, this year. Melissa and I think it would be a good idea to ask for an extension. Business Oregon tends to be flexible on that. We haven't had to take it yet. And there's a lot of problems that are presented with taking it. there's also a lot of problems presented with not taking it. So there's a whole other issue here with this. Also, another question that was in there was how long is this for? Well, it's 30-year long. So from the day we close on that, which as of right now would be the end of this calendar year, we have 30 years to repay it. Right now, it's a $60,000 a year payment. That's barely affordable for the URA fund. I'm not sure we can balance the budget for the URA fund if we take that and move that up to 120,000 a year. We're just gonna have to straight up dump money from the general fund into the URA to make that payment.
So what's the revenue for, what's the forecasted amount? It's gonna be revenue for the year. I mean, probably should wait till we get to the URA.
This,
The forecasted,
Revenue.
expenditure.
well, so
Expenditure.
yeah.
I'm just curious, I'm trying to, when you talk about this, how much money,
105,000.
So
so you need to put, based on your assumptions here, you'd need to put about 15,000.
Oh, way more, like.
No, we need to put
because that's
about-
Just to pay the loan payment, not to fund the URA.
no, we need
Expenditures,
to put
right?
another 60,000 from the general fund to the URA to make, if we took that $1 million.
Oh,
So that's the problem we're running into, and you're gonna see, we budgeted for just the loan payment of the current. We didn't budget for 120 because we would have a tough time balancing that.
So we can redress it with somebody.
So,
I was gonna say, so if you get the extension, you get a year, let's say,
Yeah,
then we can readdress this at the budget next year
exactly.
as to whether or not. you
And then
still-
hopefully we'll have a better picture. We'll have one more year down the road and say, oh, actually, our trajectory on property taxes is continuing to increase exponentially as it's supposed to. And so we actually do have more money to
We'll
pay.
have a better view of the future.
We don't know.
Get closer to it. Yeah. Right now, we're in a situation where if we don't take it, we're gonna lose it. I mean, based on the
Yep.
deadline.
right, yes.
But if we take it, then we have to make payments, right?
Yep.
Of
In December of this
60
year.
Starting 60,000 a year, starting.
We take it.
69.
120,
120.
All right.
because we
I
have.
know, I put 69.
Well, I mean, and it just,
Yeah.
I stand corrected, and it just.
Yes.
and our revenue only went up $10,000 from the previous year.
Yeah,
So I mean, I think,
From,
Yes.
I think the 105 is low. I do. I just don't know how much more it needs to be. Like, is it 10 more? Is it 20 more? It's not 60 more. I can tell you that right now. That's the question.
I think getting the extension is a good strategy. That way you keep our options open.
Yeah.
And we don't need to burden ourselves with the additional debt right now.
Right.
And if we can get away without, things change, we can get away without using it, great.
so how does that complicate the loan term? If we ask for an extension?
I mean, we probably have 29 years to repay it at that point.
Are we gonna do our meeting
You,
later on?
Yes,
Can we
You are.
get it on the budget then? Don't we have a separate one for that?
it's combined, but the motions are separate.
Discussion is combined, motions are
Okay.
separate.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah. Because we knew this was gonna be an issue and it's kind of combined
And
with
it-
your general fund,
Because it flows through the general fund to the UR.
this loan, yeah.
And so it affects both the city and the UR.
yeah, typically you don't have.
No.
No.
This
This
would
is
be,
a unique to John Day thing where
So anyway, that's the situation we're at. We're budgeted to take the loan. We're budgeted to make $60,000 a year payments or $69,000 a year payments. But those are actually somewhat incompatible because if we take the loan, then we would make $120,000 a year payments. But we can't balance the budget if we put $120,000 a year payments.
so we're to the.
So the
minus.
hope is to budget to take it and not take it.
Right.
That's the hope. That's what we budgeted for.
We're doing what we need to do to balance the budget and get us through this point so where we can figure out what to do next.
Yep.
That's what we're doing.
Do we have a forecasted debt of the URA with SDCs and stuff for the next year or 2 years or 5?
No, we
No.
haven't done anything to develop projections on that. As of right now, we don't have enough money to pay the incentives that we're required to pay. So we didn't mess with trying to figure out the SDCs that we can't afford to pay. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Okay, and so again, generalizing here, if there's something more on point you want to hit. Budgeting grants are one-time events. There's effective funds here. So fire, street, sewer, and IT are kind of the areas that were called out in the question. When we have a grant or a one-time event, we have two options, really. We can not budget it at all. That means no revenue and no expense. And then when we get the money, we can bring that in by resolution. Or we can budget to have the money, and also the offsetting expense in the exact same amount. Or if there's a match component, slightly different. So we chose different strategies in different areas. We could make them more the same if we wanted to. That was, again, one of the questions in there. So in fire fund, we budgeted for a grant that's directly offsetting the expense. So it's a wash, but we did budget to make that expenditure. In street, we did the same thing. Even though the money is not in hand, it's not a guarantee that we're going to get those dollars. In sewer, we chose the opposite route. We didn't budget for anything because we don't know whether it's a grant or a loan or nothing for this year. And so we don't have any revenue or any expenditure in there. In IT, we did budget for the sale of the
Senate.
cyber room. Yeah.
No, the Main Street building.
Oh, the
the
Main
one here,
Street
yeah.
building too.
Yeah.
In town. So we did budget for that, even though we don't have the money in hand or a sales contract in place. And so if we want to make that more in line, we can do that. But that's just,
So, and just because obviously Rob doesn't put this together in a vacuum, we talk and I tell him my thoughts. This is kind of like I don't know, it's a preference thing. It's a style of how I budget. And I'll say if we've applied for a grant and I knowingly applied for the grant or we know it's there, like, and I don't mean there like we're gonna get it, but we did physically apply, I will usually put that in there because that's a known. If we don't know, I'm not gonna put it in there. If we say, oh, if my department heads come and say, oh, well, I think I'm gonna apply for this grant for this, I probably won't put it in because thinking and doing are two different things. I applied for the known, or I put in the known. So we know we applied for the SEA grant. We did. So
that's
if
the
we
street.
don't get, that's the street fund, small city allotment. If we don't get it, we don't spend the money.
Yep.
So it's not,
There you go.
it's a wash in, wash out. So it really doesn't have much effect. It's not like we're putting in revenue and we're gonna spend that revenue. It's not, that's not how it works. That's the style. If you want to change it, you are the budget committee, you're the council, we can do that. We can take those out. It's just another layer of if we get it, we go through a resolution process and have to do the budget stuff.
My concern is
Yeah.
that we're talking $500,000 there, you know, with the three funds. You know, 'cause you get 100,000 in IT, the street 250 and fire 150,000. You know, is that budget committee, if we approve it, we're approving expending that money. And I know we're saying we won't.
No, we can't, because it's coming out through the grant fund, so we really can't spend that money. Because we budgeted
Isn't
to
it
spend it.
of this budget is saying that what we're really approving is the expenditures.
It's a plan. It's a plan.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, but you have to remember the line items are also, I mean, you're approving buckets of money in those specific.
Yeah, so for example,
For the IT,
So
it's a
materials and
fund.
services. We could put invoices to whatever we want in those materials and services. If it's a material and service, it matches and nobody cares except for us, me as a city manager. So the line items are for us to drive us and to be transparent about where certain buckets of money are. But those grant funds can only be expended through grants. So if we don't get the grant, that 250 is not there. We don't spend it. It can't be spent.
And they're earmarked for specific
And
things.
it's earmarked. However, I also do grant expenditures. So we did do SEA. I don't know if it's called that. I haven't looked at it, but if,
yeah, it's all.
I mean,
Page 20.
I've also done where I just have grant line items in every fund, and I used to just put $100,000 in every one and $100,000 out because something came up, but it's just a style. So we know we applied for the SCA, I put it in. We don't get it, we can't spend it because that grant it has to come out there. So just because it's in there as 250,000, I can put 5 million in there. But if I put 5 million out, we can't spend 5 million just because it says it's in there as an expenditure. It has to come out that line item, that expenditure. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but isn't that what we're approving? that line items in the budget, you know, and it's showing a revenue of this and expenditure of this, so we're approving that to be expended.
Yeah, if we get it, we are gonna expend it, but if we don't get it, we can't. We can't expend it.
Well, let's go to the IT fund. We're showing we're gonna spend for advertisement, et cetera, you know, in order to sell it, you're gonna have to spend money. You know, but, you know, so the money's gotta be spent even to pursue selling it.
Yeah.
There'd be professional services and,
Right.
you know, attorney fees and you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have the 100,000. That's the thing.
But if you don't expend it, you'll never, like, I guess I don't know how functionally, how you would sell a building if you're not allowed to spend any money until you sell the building.
I mean, we're gonna spend it
Yeah.
because it's gonna be in those line items with those invoices are gonna come out. You're gonna get your legal fees, you're gonna get your advertising. They're gonna go out.
But that's where like the 69,000 you showed in the general fund. You know, so the other 30,000 in the IT fund, could that be covered by general funds until we know that building's sold?
Well, yeah,
Trying 6 months at least trying to sell it. There's no guarantee you're gonna sell it this next.
I haven't been actively trying to sell it though. We've been working on the Seneca building and
Is it listed with a realtor?
no,
Why not?
because I haven't been actively trying to sell it. I've been trying to close the Seneca building. And we've been dealing with the Seneca building.
Don't we want to get rid of it? It's really easy just to go to a realtor and say, we want to list this. No, nothing you have to do.
Well,
I mean, you can.
Pay the realtor and the council
Yeah.
hasn't approved
Yeah.
her to go.
yeah,
Yeah,
we have to do
Yeah.
that.
It's probably for a topic for a different meeting. I mean, it's
Right.
kind of on task with the budget.
Yeah,
yeah, so if the group would rather, I mean, we can change it so it's a transfer out of the general fund, reducing the general fund contingency. And then not show the sale of the building on there.
For me,
I think as long as it's delineated out where it came from and where it went, that's what we need.
Right.
We don't need. We spent $13 for paper clips here and, you know,
Right.
we just need the general picture. And as far as the grants go, the grants are for specific projects. If you don't do the specific project, you don't have permission to spend any money.
Yeah.
correct.
Right.
Yeah, well, and the reality on the street fund in particular, there's 450,000 budgeted in
Yeah,
capital.
it's not bad.
250 of that is the grant. If we spend 50,000, if we don't get the grant and we spend 50,000 in capital outlay, I would be shocked. Like that's not on the radar right now. We got other priorities. It's just not there. So I'm just kind of trying to throw out an example there. How that is. We want to be able to respond to an emergency if there's an absolute emergency or something like that without having to jump through all the time consuming hoops of changing the budget. But at the same time, we're only going to spend it if it absolutely has to be spent.
I mean, it's really a philosophical question because I mean, you're either losing the budget or you're trying to choreograph it more tightly and then having to come back and ask the council to do resolutions as things change.
Well, and you're probably going to, I mean, it's not like it's going to be done in a vacuum either. You guys know me well enough, I think by now that we're not going to get this, if we get the SEA grant, it's not like all of a sudden we're going to get it and all of a sudden work's going to be going on. I mean, there are things that have to be brought to you anyway.
The RFP.
I mean, yeah, it's not a vacuum here and,
It's actually
you're,
approved by
we're,
council.
and the other thing is I'm not gonna go out there and just start a street project and say I'm using that 250,000 that we really don't have, because that money is supposed to be reimbursed and coming from somewhere else, so I'm not, maybe, it's not gonna happen, so.
And the one thing that I'm kind of zero in on grants, when you have these projects go over multiple years and you have revenue from grants. For instance, you have a grant for $200,000 to do a project, but you've got a 2-year period of performance. And you think, well, we might get it all done in the first year. So you budget the whole amount for an expenditure, but you either don't get the project finished within that first year, your eyes are bigger than your stomach kind of thing, right? Or for whatever reason. And so now you've only spent 50,000. Well, you got to be able to roll that expenditure. So now you spent 50,000 of the 200. Now you get a budget the following year, you take that unspent money, that 150,
Yeah.
but you gotta be able to track it as
Yeah.
this particular grant. So you create a separate line item for the grant itself or the project itself, so you can track
We have
that.
it in file. We do it through a different,
Do you-
through our-
I mean,
our
you-
accounting
You have,
does
a
it,
you have a
yes.
process to do that.
yes, yeah, and we make sure, in fact, this SEA grant most likely will go over because of
For sure.
the, when it gets, if it gets awarded and then when you get your, then you start doing the project, so it will, so, you know, I'm expecting it to go over multiple.
There's this other local government, I'm a little familiar with it, wasn't doing it, but they're doing it now, and it's much more transparent.
No, you
And-
have to
and it's-
be.
Otherwise, Eric has to keep it in his head, and that's a good place.
No, we have it. And for bigger projects like, you know, the wastewater plant, Nick Dakota does a very good job of keeping us on task and has all those numbers.
All right. Yeah. Unappropriated fund balance. Question was, what can we do with it? You can't. It's budgeted carryover to the subsequent year. That's what it's for. So that's the question there. IT fund, no wages are budgeted in IT fund. We're trying to wrap that thing down. We used to allocate wages to it when it's going concern. We're plugging away. Now there may be a little bit of time spent on it, but that's time that's just gonna get spent elsewhere. There's no need to capture the very, very tiny amounts spent on it in that one fund, because it's not incremental. There's no, we're not hiring somebody to work in the IT fund. This is an allocated cost of a salaried employee is all it would be. So that's why we didn't budget any funds in there. Next. Community development dollars. There's a lot of questions on the community development. So 70% restricted, that's easy. And we have to carry that forward just like we would a grant, because we haven't expended our 70% from last year or the year before. And so we have to carry those forward. The 30% is unrestricted. We budgeted for that because past practice dictates that we want to hand it out. We want to give it to people. We want to give it to do various things to promote the city. That's a council call. That's a budget committee call. That's fine. We left it on there. If we choose not to use it as past practice, we can take that line item off completely and use it to just subsidize other areas of the government.
As I said, recommended, like, we could use that for various things, you know. In the community development, we took a lot of money out from the general fund and put it in. We can reduce that amount we put from the general fund by using these funds, you know.
He's absolutely
We can
correct.
build up that unrestricted fund in the general. That's one option.
Yep.
Yeah, then 30% is unrestricted.
And that is 25,756 in the budget year.
And then the restricted amount.
The restricted is you have to use it for a tourism specific function. And that means trying to get people from over 50 miles away to be here. And the 50 miles away is because they figure they'll spend the night. And that's where you get tourism.
Is that our portion of the transient room taxes?
Yes,
That's what,
Yeah.
well,
yeah.
not
we
a portion.
get-
We have a specific
We get.
Yeah.
John Day City.
Yeah.
That's something like what I suggested. One option was you got the 250th anniversary of the US, you know, any planning, that's gonna should bring people from 50 miles away, et cetera, you know. But I don't know what's planned, because all you do is have a line item, so we don't have the breakdown to know what's projects may be planned to bring tourists.
Well, and to be fair, in the past, this wasn't broken out. I did this when I got here because I knew, I just was familiar with the law, but
Understood.
so we're doing it now. We don't have a lot of buildup in there. I mean, I guess if you're John Day and you're looking at it as 74,000 is a lot of money. It's really not. If you're gonna, do a lot of cities will do their arches or their downtown revitalizations or their flower baskets or, their benches out. So I guess you can make it whatever you want. And that's a good idea to have, like, we're trying to every year, as I said before, Rob and I are trying to build this up every year. So our budget meetings and our budget lead up becomes much more comprehensive. So these are the kind of decisions you know, if you wanna spend your TRT dollars, what do you spend them on? And that as a council decision, what do they wanna do?
Yeah, and that's what I.
Right.
What's the budget that, the council knows they have this much money, but what are we
Right.
planning to do with that money
Yep.
besides tourism?
So right now, we're just,
That's something you need to bring up in a council.
yeah, so right now, we're just letting it roll until there's a big idea. I will say, you know, with the strategic planning coming, which is on the agenda tonight, I have a feeling there might be some things that could come out of that, that the council could get ideas on how to use the money. I have already talked to Don, next year, we're gonna try to get on the, you know, a little bit beforehand and try to do the flower baskets downtown, that would come out of that, so. There is some options, we just haven't done anything yet.
Yeah, and since you brought it up for the council meeting after this meeting, and, you know, there's a request, for some money, you know, for tourism and everything, you know, and if that's granted, you're gonna have to reduce these dollars in this budget.
No, because that'll
It was
be
already budgeted.
before the budget,
Yeah.
before the,
It's the, yeah,
In this budget, but.
But the-
carryover,
yeah,
that carryover amount Yeah.
it's
may
negligible.
change.
Yeah, but by 1,500 or so, it's not. So we're still spending money as a city, so we still get invoices, so all these, we anticipate
Understood.
how much we're gonna spend, so. Yeah, not enough to.
But I just wanna make people aware that could be a change, slight change, whatever.
Yeah, really sad.
And
How much time do you have left here to go on your presentation? I'm just being mindful of.
Yeah, see, we're near the end. So there was a request for some summaries of total expenditures. So total expenditures. Broken up into these funds. Is there maybe a next slide? We'll go back. I have it. Actually, Eric, on that sheet of paper that I gave you for the resolution. Sorry about that. I thought I put the total expenditures. Total expenditures are $6,943,786, and they're broken up into those areas. We got 29% in water, 25% in general, 13% in street, and small amounts in everything else except for sewer. And sewer, probably scratching your head because it's usually our biggest expenditure, but remember, we didn't budget anything for the sewer project in there. Next slide. There's a request to break out wages, by fund. So you've got wages of 887,000 budgeted. And that's the fund breakdown for each of them. There was another request which didn't make the slide deck, but I have the numbers for you if you want to write them down. Legal and professional fees.
We wanna do these?
Yeah, let's finish the wage conversation. So. Chris asked what PERS do. Well, that's the officer, there's different categories. I think all of our people are now officers. That's the officer, category, and we actually decreased from 9.83% to 7.74. That is not typical.
Yeah.
Baker City, for example, I think they went up 30% this year. Baker School District nearly doubled. So that's not normal, but we decreased. And then, our insurance, so these are other costs that are included. So I gave you the wage number. And then in that personnel services line item, there's other costs. PERS, insurance, that's changed for the CBA. We used to do,
It was like
90-20.
yeah.
The math's not adding up.
We used to do 80-20, but now.
We used to do 80-20, now we do 90-10. No, we're not paying 110% of the insurance. So anyway, that's what we do now. And so there is an increase there. And of course, employer taxes. That's what's in those. Next slide. Yeah, so that's further discussion. Let me give you one more piece of information. So there was a request to break out, for the totals for the whole city. Legal separately from professional services, separately from travel and training. So our legal cost budget for the entire city are $135,000 for the city with an additional $25,000 for the URA. That makes $160,000 for the combined entity. No,
So you expect legal to go up $35,000 this year?
you tell you where we're at this year. Give me 1 second.
We're already over, I know that.
We have spent so far through the end of April, we've spent $151,166 on legal.
What do we budget for?
116 for the combined entity, 91 for the city, 25 for URA.
You're not talking about URA, we're talking about just the city.
And 91 for the city, and then 135 is what we budgeted for the city for legal.
You expect the legal costs to go up?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everything's going up.
Well, it's not only is it going up, but getting more litigious.
And then professional services, we budgeted 277,500 for the city and another 10,000 for URA. And that includes a number of newer items in there. So we've only spent year to date, we've only spent 128,000 for the, well, we've spent almost nothing in URA. So it's 128,000 for the combined entity and the city. But we're gonna pay for IT services. We haven't historically done that. We've got the water master plan in there. We've got engineering, which we now have a city engineer, on there. General consulting, accounting services, we have a city planner, who we only got a partial year of in the current year. And then grant writing, grant management.
Your timing is perfect, Jody.
Okay.
One reason I just suggested that because in my opinion, a lot of people don't see the big picture involved, and so in the way I look at things, I like to look at some real detail and things and see the big picture. But like, when I looked at the budget, we were looking at 19% was personal services, 2% was legal, 3% was professional services. And you can break that, then I broke down the urban renewal the same way.
Yeah.
And just from my.
Yep. No, I think it's good, and that's why we responded, to that, and just generally to just encourage like more of that dialogue. Travel, for the whole city, there's none in the URA, travel and training for the whole city is 38,000.
And I expect that to be up, depending on how many counselors go to the 100th anniversary LOC conference in October. That could get spendy if, everybody decides to go, which actually I'm encouraging because, that is where you do the best networking. That's where you pick up the best ideas, where you learn the most, as a counselor, and then staff also. I'm expecting our staff to get, some extensive training this year. And so I'm expecting that to go up anyway.
Is there a reason that the street professional services has jumped 10,000?
Yeah. Yeah, cause I'll,
Yeah, so we don't know what the IT's cost is gonna be because we haven't ever paid for IT services before. And so we pretty much just blanket put $10,000 in every fund.
plus software comes out of there. Gazelle does not? No, never mind.
That's in the street fund. There's $10,000 for.
Yeah, it's IT services.
That's the personal or professional services is the service, and then computer is the software.
Where's our website?
That would come out of computers.
Not computers?
It would have, yeah, it would.
What did you
Our
say?
website is computers.
Yeah, computers and software.
Mhm.
Subscriptions.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean,
Well, so we have subscriptions and dues, which is different.
that's different.
Okay. Any other questions that are? burning
Yeah,
on anybody's
I was
mind?
Rob, oh, I'm
It's all
sorry.
in IT services.
Would you ask Rob? No. Rob, on page 41.
Yeah.
motor pool department expenditures.
Yep.
Can you tell me why that total figure changed from the last, all the figures are the same?
It shouldn't be the same because we have unpaid compensation in there, for 4,005.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Yep. That was the only question I had.
I have two little questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Where is the line item that tells how much we pay for the, planning officer, whatever the name is?
It's personal services in Fund 10 and
And
community development.
community development professional services.
Okay, so is there an amount that we,
It's not broken out by contractor.
Yeah.
okay,
But it's in there.
okay, so the specific contractors are not listed, just the.
Well, we only have one, so
So we got,
pretty much.
we're on track to spend 32,000 out of that fund this year, so we just bumped it up to 40. But you're gonna have an allocation of IT funds. I don't think I charge any time to this, but if I did, it'd be a little bit. And then any grant services.
Okay, and then my other question was, last year we budgeted 100,000 to go to the sheriff's department. But
Yeah.
we
Right.
did 35,000 to the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
Was that a partial year?
Partial year. Yeah.
And you're anticipating a full year
Yeah.
this year?
Yeah. And we did budget just for the 50,000 under,
Code enforcement.
code enforcement. And that, I know, Liz, you had a question about just the sheriff. I'd like to leave that as public safety because we haven't worked out all the details and we don't know. And if the sheriff, whatever happens, we are with the sheriff right now, but also on the code enforcement, if something, we don't know how that's gonna look yet. We don't know if the sheriff's gonna do it. We don't know if we're gonna go in halvesies with another city. We don't know. So I kind of would like to leave it as public safety. It also gives us the option to use that money. Again, how much I am for transparency, but it does give us an option to use that money in a different way if we have to for public safety. So,
And I understand, I'm just that.
Yeah.
You emphasized before when we're talking fire.
Yeah.
Where it said public safety, this is fire, this is not, when we're talking public safety, but over here, when we're talking
Yeah.
public safety, we're talking law.
Yeah, it's
You know,
income
just
growth.
clarification.
I guess, I'm sorry, I would have made it all, if you're talking about the fee, we were talking about putting on utility bill, it would have been public safety, but it would encompass everything and.
You're saying that sheriff to cover, right now, he just covers state law. He does not cover any of the laws of the city.
Ordinances.
The sheriff, yeah, I mean, they're just
So
patrolling.
he's asking $50,000 more to cover our ordinances.
No.
No.
This body, this council asked for code enforcement specifically for the city. So this
We're not
would
getting it
be,
now.
huh?
We're not getting it now.
No,
And
We
Perry
haven't.
just dropped their contract with the sheriff.
they dropped their sheriff contract, but they're still looking at code enforcement also. So
Okay.
there's some, we're still looking at options and talking to the other agencies to see what's happening there. And I don't know if they totally did drop it or not, but
That would be news to me.
yeah, I don't know that they actually dropped
It's
it.
definitely a conversation.
Yeah,
So
They're talking about.
under community development, there's a new line item for parks and building maintenance of $30,000.
yeah, so like we mentioned last time,
It's.
in
where we put it?
community development,
Yes,
we had to move it over,
it was in streets,
which,
which is not where it needs to be.
Okay.
Cause the
can't use
streets
street
are
lighting.
restricted
yeah,
for streets. You can build roads, or you can build paths with it, but you can't maintain the buildings associated with the paths. And so that's where it historically been. We said, no, that's not
That's
okay.
not
Put it
okay.
to community development.
Hey,
Why not? Is it realistic not to show that there's any overtime and any?
Oh, great question. Yeah, we had talked about putting that on the slide. The new software that we have doesn't break out overtime from general wages. Overtime is included in general wages.
Because there was only one fund code that showed any overtime.
Right, that's the carryover. I meant to put all of them together with, in wages. And so wages is intended to include both regular time and overtime.
any other questions? All right, no, yeah, I can't with this paper.
Oh, yeah.
So you were right.
Do you have any more questions, Brad? We have a half an hour.
We do.
We haven't talked to UI.
The city council meeting doesn't start till 7.
Oh.
Yeah, we haven't done
Yeah.
URA
Oh,
yet.
forgive me. I'm sorry. I'm pushing this thing along. I thought we were starting.
In your budget message, you talk about personnel services, could you go through those exactly? Because right now I see nothing on our website that we're hiring anybody.
There is on our
Yeah, there
website,
are.
there's an ad out right now for a account billing clerk right now on our website. And
And
actually,
it's
I've
been
been
advertised
advertised
on the
and
radio
it
too.
closes on July 17th
Okay.
or July 15th.
So that's one.
And we haven't done anything with Public Works. We have possibility of 2 interns coming in.
Those are grant funded by the fire.
No, just, well, the fire, but then they'll be working maybe in Public Works and we will pay as interns for summer help through those. Yeah. Yep.
So we're how many people short right now?
Well, one possibly inside. It depends on how staffed you think the city should be.
Well, I'd like to have it open, because I tried to come back from vacation and went to the city hall and it's closed.
What day?
Not last week, but the week before. I don't remember what day, Thursday or Friday, probably.
I don't know. You should always text me or call me because so I know what's happening.
Sign it right on the door, closed, do the staff. search.
I get that, but I could let you know why,
It
at the
said right on the
time.
door.
I get it. So anyway, yes, so that's what we're doing. I don't know.
Any other budget or comments or thoughts?
I
Well,
want to thank you for all the work that you put in on this. It seems like we, are making progress with getting things under control and, conservative. I feel good about it.
I want to thank everybody for participation because, a lot of times you see these budget committee meetings and it's just a kind of a rubber stamp thing. And all the questions, Lewis, all the work you put into it, that was awesome. I thought, and I appreciate it. It's good to see it. Yes, sir.
Under IT, it was just a question. Miscellaneous.
Hey, we got time to burn.
IT what?
Under IT expenditures, miscellaneous,
32?
32, miscellaneous.
You're in the old one, right?
In the old one or the new one?
No, the new one.
No, this is the new one that was given to us,
Oh, okay.
not
How come
not
he has-
today.
How come he has
But,
color? Should be gray, right?
So it's 32,
It's still the same.
it
Oh.
still has miscellaneous expenses of
Yeah,
19,000.
Absolutely. So if you recall, when we talked about this, total materials and services is the category that matters, right? Well, we're sure, or at least I am, that there's gonna be costs that we don't foresee in selling that building. I don't know what they need to go under, but we have another 19,000, so instead of putting it in contingency, put it under materials and services so we can get that building sold.
It just frees up the money for us to use in that capacity, the way we need to use it.
Brad, which one are you looking at?
Much the same,
There's 3
these aren't
changes.
things that he changed.
Oh, okay.
Any other?
There was a there was $1,000 increase in dispatch services. We've gone from, over the last 3 years, from 1,500 to 5,500.
Yeah, so dispatch services are based on our call share volume. And so the hard part is predicting what that number is gonna be, because it varies year to year dramatically. And it's also based on what the actual costs of GCCA are. And so it's fluff to put it in there to make sure we have enough to cover it.
Yep. I will say, again, getting off, because this is a council thing, but we are, because of the sheriff's contract, the undersheriff is going to be doing a presentation soon about the calls and coming to council and talking about that. Because we are a big generator of calls, guys. We get a lot here.
For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the way this community manages their 911 center, because those things are really a mess. And the way they've broken it out, and the agreements we have in place, everybody's sharing based on call volume and percentage budget. Not only is it easy to plan and easy to budget, it's very transparent and very fair. Because the people who use the most pay the most.
And even the ones who pay the most don't pay that much.
And it still, really, it's not, I mean, we're just blessed. We don't have to pay money out of our pocket from a taxing district or anything else for nothing. We're really lucky that the community works together.
What is DLCD grant that was under URA? What did it comprise? We got, 2 years ago, we had $60,000.
Yeah, and that was a grant that they, well, I obviously wasn't here, but the LCD is Department of Lands Conservation. It's the planning. So with some kind of planning, I'm sure that they got a grant to update some kind of code or to redo something. Yeah, and it's not, I mean, it's probably something we'll look into in the future, but there is some state laws coming down that we're going to be required to change our code. I've already been talking with the planner about that, so, you know, we're probably gonna be looking at one of those grants too.
But it probably go in Fund 10,
Yep,
not in
Yep.
the URA.
it'll go in under resolution, cause it hasn't been done yet.
Yeah. it's been a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. And we wait until, you know, the state figures out what they're doing before we wanna go change code.
Any other discussion, comments, questions? Got time? Yes, sir.
It's more than that. You talked about fees in your budget message.
Did.
Mess with them?
I haven't messed with them. The city council has to agree to them. We did, talk about them in our PowerPoint presentation, which I believe that you got, what we're proposing, and then those will come to council as part of the budget approval as a resolution.
We did not budget to increase any of those. I wasn't gonna go
Yeah.
raid the hen house. for
No,
eggs or
we didn't assume anything.
So if you do choose to increase fees, our revenues will be more than what we budgeted.
I checked Malawi County and Malawi and Burns for their fees compared to ours. We better be careful, guys.
Well, okay, so I will say this. I also checked, and I will tell you that, our planning fees are gonna go way up. And I've said that out loud, depending on what council does, but here's the thing. Development does not cost less because we're in Eastern Oregon. And I did call Ontario, for instance, if you call or look at Ontario's fees, they're shockingly low. So much so that I called the city manager and I said, why are your fees so low? Because I'm getting ready to raise ours, some by 300% or more. And, cost of doing business, there's no way this is penciling out. And he started laughing. He said, no, I just knew planning when I got here. And it was small enough that I could take on those small projects. I've been raising them incrementally every month, but he said, yeah, they're too low. No city can sustain it. So here's the thing, state law is state law, state planning law is state planning law. We have state oversight. We're not like some other states. It costs the same to do a planning here in Eastern Oregon as it does in Portland, as it does in Salem, as it does anywhere. And so to have that application go through a process, it is just as expensive. And if we don't recoup that cost, your citizens and your taxpayers are subsidizing it through your general fund. And so, yeah, it's gonna hurt, but you know what? Developers know the cost, they pencil it out, they'll whine and cry about it. I've had it my whole career. But in the end, you know, if you look around to the cities that are development has been handled and done nicely and done right, they make sure it pencils out and you get good development. When you start cutting fees and you start cutting requirements, you get bad development. And so, you'll be messing with it and you'll be working on those streets and you'll be working on the infrastructure and you'll be doing things in the long run and your citizens will bear the cost. That's my soapbox. I will get off of it and, you are the council, so you get to decide at the end.
Just a legal question. Did you call a public hearing?
Not yet. It's on the agenda.
We posted it, yes.
I know. Did you call this?
So there will be a public hearing.
It's supposed to be today.
Yeah, it's next on the agenda. We're still in discussion.
Okay.
We're not in the
It
public
just says
hearing yet.
Public hearing at 5:30.
It's on the agenda. It's not for the public hearing is not during our discussion. Public hearing is after our discussion.
Put it in your budget calendar. Right there.
That's the budget.
Says budget revisions and discussion. Next is public hearing and then the motion. All right,
We're not gonna adopt the budget tonight.
We have to
Your
approve it.
budget committee
You're gonna
recommended
approve it.
We'll recommend.
recommend.
Yeah, council will adopt after we publish the LB one. Later in June.
Okay,
And then open the-
yep, okay, I think we're questioned out.
Brad's not questioned out.
I will say, the next county court meeting, you will see a discussion about raising permit fees for development 50% in August. So. it's
Yeah.
Going up. It's
You
getting
just got
expensive.
to, and you know,
Yeah.
I don't think you want your taxpayers to bear the costs.
Anyway. Okay, so, just a matter of course, separate public hearings for,
Yeah.
each one of these, so, so I,
I make a motion to open the public meeting
Public hearing.
hearing.
I have a motion to open the public hearing on the 25, 26 FY Jumping Day City budget. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second? Seconds, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I open public hearing.
John, Linda, do you have anything to add?
Or anybody on?
Or anybody online, yeah.
Raise your hand.
Anybody online?
Hearing none.
Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Need a motion to do that. Okay, motion. So this is my script right here, this first one.
No, it's just for the seated bold ones. And one for the URA, and I think that's the top one. and
Yeah.
The city one is second.
Oh, okay, good. That's the assessor. Oh, script city, okay, got it, okay, here's your step. Okay, I'll make the motion, I move, the City of John Day Budget Committee approve the presented budget as amended with expenditures in the amount of $6,943,786 and approve the property taxes for the 2025-2026 fiscal year at a rate of $2.99.150 per 1,000 of assessed value for operating purposes and the amount of $50,000 for payment of bond principal and interest for general fund obligation bonds. Do I have, I'm making that motion, do I have a second? Or, yeah. Is that
Yep, you're fine.
Oh, okay, I'll second it. Sorry,
Sherry seconds?
I never get to second.
Discussion? Any discussion?
So the 50,000 at the end, could you clarify what
Yeah,
that means?
so we have the fire hall bonds.
Okay.
They're a specified amount rather than a rate.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none? Call the question. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, wait.
Wait,
Did you say no?
I've been trying to decide on this for.
All right, Louis. All in favor, say
Wait a
aye.
minute, well,
And we-
no, wait,
discussion.
it sounds like we've got more discussion here.
Well, no, you have discussion on the motion.
You had.
No. Call for the question.
Sorry.
Go ahead. We'll do the do-over. We've got time. Go ahead.
I'm a yes, with the understanding is that we aren't spending any grants, funds, and
Right.
IT funds. Once that building sold and the grants are received.
Right.
Correct.
So if I understand you correctly, your question slash concern, Louis, is we don't spend money that we do not receive specified revenue that was planned for. Is that saying that
I
correctly?
know, in my past, you got something in the budget, you show that it was approved. as an expenditure, then if you wanted, you could go start expending that. Concern some of the past practices before Melissa and Rob was here, how some of that was done.
Any other discussion on the motion that's on the table? Floor, I should say. Hearing no more discussion? Call the question. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, next, you all right?
Yeah. I guess we should pause here in case anybody was holding any questions for the URA. Probably do that before we open the public hearing.
Do we have a forecast of what the URA will fund? In the next,
We have forecasted revenues based on the original assessment that was done when it was open. As of last year, we were ahead of those projections. As far as what it's gonna cost, we budgeted every last dime that we have and it to still be balanced. And we don't have a lot left over. So what it's gonna cost in real terms may exceed what we have available to spend. Because we have contractual obligations that we do not know the amount of at this point.
That's just two left. Is that right?
That's a Melissa question.
Sorry, our presenter's texting me, what,
Holstrom and
of what we have left for obligations?
Yeah.
The contractual
We have-
obligations.
3, we have
Three?
Ironwood and the Ridge and Holstrom's.
And we have 2,000, just under 3,000 budgeted to pay those incentives, which will probably be north of 20,000.
Did you hear from Irene?
She's on, yep.
Okay, any other discussion add-ons for the URA before we make a motion?
Yeah, and I'll just say
Or
again,
open the public hearing?
my analogy is that we're hanging onto the bar and Rob and I were laughing at this. I'm like, we're either doing a 30-second hold or, a minute hold. And so we just have to wait it out and see.
Anybody make a motion to open the public hearing on the URA budget?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing on the URA budget.
Second it.
I'm giving that one to Beth. So Sherry makes a motion, that seconds. I'm opening the public hearing on the URA budget for the fiscal year 25-26 year for John Day Urban Renewal District budget. Any comments from anybody in the audience?
I see no hands.
Hands online? Okay. Hearing no discussions, close the public hearing. All right, I'm ready to make a motion. I move that the John Day Urban Renewal District Budget Committee approve the presented budget for the 2025-2026 as amended with total expenditures of $118,136. Do we have a second? There's two motions.
Yep, there's two motions. Yep.
Second. Brad seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Cool.
Were you a nay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second the motion, no. I don't think you can, I don't know that you can vote no after seconding the motion.
No, you're just moving it along.
No.
Yeah,
I think you can.
yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Yes.
That's all he was doing was after the vote, right?
When you second a motion, you start the discussion. So that's, yeah.
Yep.
So, very well. Brad is a no, everybody else is a
did you get Irene's vote?
pardon me?
Did you get Irene's vote?
Irene, Mhm.
I said aye.
She said,
Aye. All in favor, one opposed, or motion carries. One. Right, next, got another motion. I move to approve the request of the Grant County Assessor for the John Day Urban Renewal District area for the maximum amount of revenue that may be raised by dividing the taxes under section 1C, Article 9 of the Oregon Constitution, ORS Chapter 157. Second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Okay, what does that mean, Rob?
You're
It's
allowing-
what we've
yeah.
tried to explain. Got other questions, which is that they froze the tax base at a certain point in time.
Oh, yeah.
And there's incremental tax revenue that's been gained in those areas since it was frozen. The URA receives those. That's what it's saying, it's splitting the two.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sounds good to me.
Good question. Any other discussion?
Can I ask a question? What percent of the property taxes of the assessor's office get for the URA to administer the URA?
I actually don't know the answer to that question.
I didn't know, well,
I'm not sure, I mean, I'm sure they keep
Is it-
something, but it'd be the same for everything, because they collect all the taxes and they give them out to you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at they put together a huge sheet of how it's distributed,
Right.
the tax distribution. And so, I mean, that would probably tell us if we take a
Yeah,
look
it's
at
been a
that.
while since.
It'd be a great question for the county treasurer.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, do they keep any for collecting all the rest of the stuff?
100%. There's not gonna, it'd have to be you.
Oh, then they would.
Yeah.
One time he was gonna charge, so I know.
Oh, interesting.
Any other discussion on the motion that's on the floor? Or, yes? Okay, call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Budget committee minutes and adjournment. No.
We're on budget committee plans and adjournment, 'cause you did both.
Yep.
sections.
Okay, all right, I entertain a motion to adjourn or,
You wanna do comments?
oh. Comments, any comments from the budget committee?
thank you, you guys.
Traumatized you all.
Yeah. But thank you for the effort that you put into all this. I know it's not easy.
It's just what has to be done.
And
No worries.
thank you.
Okay. With that, I'll adjourn the meeting.
Getting a little hammer, aren't you?
You know,